conquer and we're going to take some. Is that understood? Yes, sir. That's what we're going to do, sweetheart. We are going to go and get some. All right, people, on the ready line. Are you me? Yeah! Are you me? Yeah! What are you? What are you?
Autism Acceptance Month is a good time to recognize the talents, contributions, and diversity within the autism community. Sign up and read informative articles for free about autism and other disabilities at www.epmagazine.com.
Monotony. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Dull, tedious, just plain boring. But what is this? A contender, perhaps? Something unboring by the looks of it. Jabs right at dull, an uppercut to tedium, something that keeps you on your toes, keeps your head on a swivel, a knockout punch to your old, boring workouts. Welcome to Fight Camp.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Reach Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
I remember a time when I was in a not so good place, and these games and these activities and being able to come and have the camaraderie that we have here, it makes me feel like I'm not alone. There are people here that have been through what I've been through. It makes me feel like I don't know, I'm part of something great.
Just let yourself go. Give it a try.
How's it going?
Going well. It's that new guy energy.
Oh, he's back. That's the fourth time he's done that.
Is he peeking or probing?
Speaking with serious intent to probe.
Alpha 2, we might have guys starting to move on our position.
Copy, we're getting a buildup of activity here too.
Yeah, I definitely see weapons at this point.
Yeah, we have definite massing.
We're seeing activity converging to your north and south.
This is Frogman 6 Romeo. We need evac at our last known position. We have severely wounded. Who's the severely wounded? It's not you. Is it me? Who is it? No, it's not you. No, it isn't.
Copy 1, we're in contact 2.
You coming to you or you coming to us?
Stand by. We'll let you know when we're inbound.
Let's move!
Here's the plan.
EA 5 minutes, over.
The scouts are gonna lead us out, and I'm bringing up the rear. Pop smoke. Smoke out. We are all coming back.
OP1, they are en route to you.
3 minutes out! 3 minutes!
Eyes on me and only me. Has anyone looked at you?
Claymore, rock me, dude.
2 minutes out!
2 minutes!
Where are you guys?
Look for the blood in the smoke!
Multiple bad guys trying to get to our position.
Inbound! Inbound! Find cover!
1 minute out!
We have enemy on our building and all surrounding buildings.
Roger that, stand by. Going hot.
You gotta get ready, man. This is gonna hurt.
On my count. 1, 2, 3.
Hello and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran and your host. Oscar Mike Radio is co-produced with Sinister One Productions. What's your podcast doing? I want to thank my sponsor, Joyce Asek of Asek Real Estate, and my supporters, Case on Shaving Company, Exceptional Parent Magazine, and Fight Camp. Got a great show for you lined up with an amazing guest I'm looking forward to learning from and sharing with you. Navy SEAL, Navy Corpsman, two things I love and respect very much. And so without any further delay, Thomas LaGrave, welcome to Oscar Mike Radio. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, and I'm looking forward to this too, so let's make it happen.
Absolutely. So served in the Navy, check. My grandfathers were naval veterans from World War II. Marine Corps corpsman, hospital corpsman, yay, check. And then as a bonus, you like challenges, obviously. You became a Navy SEAL. So let's start with that. What got you into the Navy and being a Navy corpsman, Tom?
Well, what got me into the Navy was it was the year 1979, and I was at that time living with my parents, and was my father was old school, and I was smoking marijuana, and he threw me out of his house. So instead of going back and trying to figure that out, I'm 18 years old, time to head out on my own. And at the only thing that really was there to keep me safe and sane was I went down to the recruiter, because in 1979, Vietnam had just ended and nobody wanted to go in the military. So I was able to say that I'm interested in medicine and I want to go into the military. I thought Navy because I could see the world, and that's how it happened.
So you do that. You go through recruit train. You become a hospital corpsman.
Yes.
Did they still? No, I don't know if this corpsman was lying to me, Tom, but he said they had this thing where they would injure an animal and
Yeah.
you had to keep it alive.
Goat lab.
Yes. Is that a real thing?
Oh yeah. That's actually, when you become a high-end corpsman, whether it's with the Marine Corps or any other special forces, that's the school in North Carolina that is prepping you to be a field medic extraordinaire without dealing with human beings. They utilized goats, and it was called Goat Lab.
No kidding. So they weren't lying to me. Okay. So I ask every Navy corpsman this question because think of this, I'm a little private and just got out of boot camp. I'm in Marine Corps combat training in Camp Pendleton, California, and we're sitting there. It's a Friday night. We're like, oh, we're glad. And this Navy corpsman comes up to us and says, Marines, why aren't you drinking? We're like, what do you mean? He's like, look, for your entire life, this is the formula. Clean socks, have 1,000 milligrams of Motrin on hand at all times, and I want you all drinking at a minimum, a gallon of water a day. So, a day,
Wow.
minimum.
Yeah, I was thinking that it was going to be a gallon of beer, but okay, water is.
That's what he said. He said if you do all those things, gallon of water a day, Motrin on hand, clean socks, you will live a good life. I mean, I have some of that, not all of that, but is there any truth to that, Tom? That
That's not my world. You know what? The clean socks I can deal with, and the Motrin is an absolute, but the water is, at my age today, years down the road. Yeah, I know it's not, I understand its meaning, but back when I was a youngster, that was the last thing that was on my mind.
Well, I don't drink, but it's certainly the last thing on my mind at Camp Pendleton on a Friday night. I was trying to see if the little, girls down there Oceanside were really as cute as they said they were. So, but that's what he has hung his hat on, is because he didn't like seeing, how'd he put it? The happiest corpsman alive is one with nothing to do. So that was his reasoning for it. So you do that. What was your time being a corpsman like? Because we didn't have a lot going on back in the 80s until like Grenada and stuff. So what was that like being a corpsman?
Actually, it's your secondary NEC.
Okay.
Being the corpsman, your primary is being a Navy SEAL. So I'm an operator who happened to be the medic. And so during my time frame, we were in Beirut. That was definitely an issue in that time frame. And then when you're talking about any of the special forces, any of the branches, what you do on a daily basis, you're forever prepping, and you're doing, things that if you make a mistake can cost you a limb or a life. So I was always being utilized as the medic for, diving issues, various wounds that come about from just being an operator during the period of time where you're doing, mock-ups, getting prepared for a deployment.
No, maybe I misunderstood. I thought you became a corpsman first and then a SEAL. You did it all at the same time?
No, I went from boot camp to A school, which was at San Diego, Balboa Park, and then I went across the bridge and was at the amphib base for BUDS. So your first, in that time frame, you had to have a job, and mine was corpsman. There were bosun's mates, operation specialists. Today, the rate is actually being a SEAL. So you're a SEAL, and then they will send you to medical school if that's your choice and you wish to become the medic. So it's changed a little in that way.
So I understand you do this, and you talk about it in your story, and I'll have the link to your website and your book on Oscar Mike Radio show post. But you mentioned that during your military service, that addiction started becoming a real problem for you, and you don't really shy away from that. What was happening around that time where addiction took hold? Because for some people I've talked to, it's injury, it's family breakdown issues, divorce, any number of things. So, and you were serving in a high-speed MOS, and I understand that SEALs and Marine Raiders and Green Berets are immune to it either. But what happened to you to lead you down that road, Tom?
So the time frame is what's essential. 1979, I entered into the military under the Carter administration. Within the year, it's the Reagan administration. And in that time frame, the Forstall was an aircraft carrier that had an accident. A plane took out the flight deck, and there was a dozen deaths. And when they did the autopsies, it was found that everybody had THC in their system. And so President Reagan, Ronald Reagan, said zero tolerance. So I had been in the military, and in 79, 80, 81, the morale was just poor because of Vietnam. So there was a lackadaisical looking at drinking, and not hard drugs, but marijuana was a mainstay. And when it became zero tolerance at that very beginning, I was the corpsman that you called to get the bottles ready. So I knew when the urine tests were coming and could prepare for it. So as it lapsed on, I missed the cue of seeing that zero tolerance means zero tolerance. We're not going to tolerate it. And I did not, I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't old enough to recognize that I needed to change that. And I got caught up in, I was 3 days late for a bender, and in the military, that's UA.
Yeah.
And so instead of calling me to get the bottles ready, someone else got the bottle, and I was sitting in the master arms shack, and that's the end of the story there.
Yeah, I remember Master Sergeant coincidentally telling me that back in the 80s and 70s, there were guys growing marijuana plants in their barracks, and no one really looked too hard on that. It was a very different military back then.
Yes.
And then when I joined in the 90s, you had guys they knew they popped before they went to boot camp. They let them go to boot camp because they paid for it. Let them get thrashed, let them get balled and broken, send them home. And then after leave for us, you were guaranteed to go pee in the cup when you got back off leave. Just an automatic thing. So very, very different. Was that time when you had to start facing your addiction? Was it at that time? And when you started facing that, what was that like for you?
I didn't face my addiction until I got discharged for drug use.
Okay.
I was at SEAL Team 1, and that was the end of my career, where I was, nothing in the military happens fast. Hurry up and wait. Well, my discharge came in less than, I think it was 10 days. And I found myself out with absolutely no preparation, and I was a mess. So that's when I came to terms with addiction. It was when it actually cost me my career, a thing that I loved and that was going to be mine no more ever again. And that was overwhelming to me.
How do you do it then? Because the reason I ask is some people that I've known in my close circles dealt with the very same situation you did. And you watch them realize that, okay, life as they know it is changed, it's ended. There's either legal issues or they've lost their career or lost their family. And some just keep going down that road, but some say, you know what, okay, I realize I got a problem, I got to fix it. And they start fixing it. But I'm not experienced that myself, but it's different. Some people that you wouldn't expect say, you know what, enough's enough, I'm going to fix myself. And some people never do that. What caused you to say, you know what, I want to change Tom's life. I want to change my life right now?
There were two pieces. I ended up going home back to my father's house, where I had been thrown out almost 10 years earlier for the same thing. And my father said, look, you can stay here if you want to now address this issue that has again ruined your life. That was one element. The second element was I got a brother that's 8 years younger than I am, that was like 20 years old, and never been to a bar, never been to, he's never drank legally. And he was in the program at the age of 20. And so I'm looking at him, this is 8 years my junior, and he did the tough love thing. He gave me his hug, and then, you know what, he disappeared and told me, if you're going to use, you can't come around me. And that, first of all, pissed me off. Second, it hurt me. Third, it intrigued me. And I ended up taking my father's suggestion, and 4 months after discharge, I was in a 90-day recovery facility. And that was life-changing.
Yeah, it seemed like it was, because looking at what you've accomplished since then, you've gone on this pathway of coaching, mentorship, recovery assistance, and then authorship. And it's not just a little bit of a change; it's like a complete 180 and a new man. I mean, you go through your recovery process and you start this life anew. What got you on this track of saying, you know what, people are coming to me for help, people need coaching, people need advice, and maybe I'm the right guy to give it?
At that stage, there was none of that. I was a year into it, and I was coming to understand that for the first time in my life, I knew a fear that I had never experienced before. And the fear was that I had an addiction that I couldn't control, and I did not know how to live life without the drugs. And so it came to a circumstance where I was either going to use or do an unconventional kind of move. And I went, because of those of us in our addiction come to find that it's first, you need to be able to embrace your emotions. And what you are today is based in your childhood. For better or worse, something happened there that made you see as you saw it when it comes to drugs, and you need to change that. And as a military, anybody goes boot camp is being, desensitized because you got to pull the trigger. And then as an operator, I am further being more, and then using drugs, I didn't know how to get in touch with emotions, and I couldn't see my past. So my thought was, I'm going to go and work where I can see what I was in the moment, and ended up taking a job as an overnight counselor at an adolescent recovery facility with youngsters from 13 to 17. And that's how I figured it out.
So it's based on emotions and how you feel, because in your sense, you had blocked or buried all those.
Yep. And when it comes to understand, you can't get sober unless you come to terms with your emotions. And I am now, I'm decades a clinical therapist, coming to understand that I am forever explaining, especially to the male, that to embrace your emotions and to come to terms with them does not make you weak, it makes you strong. And that's a hard sell. But the fact
yeah. Well, yeah, even today, it's like, you don't really tell people how you really feel about stuff as a guy.
Yes. And that is where I am different from that standpoint. And I stayed working with youth for years and years because, what they gave me was purpose and meaning. They gave to me my life back as I saw it. And I wanted to dedicate myself back to them, not the individuals, but that generation, those youth that are going from adolescent to adulthood. And I've spent decades working there and having the kind of success, being able to explain with the youngsters that are not yet having those ironclad walls that we put up. I'm able to get in there before that occurs and to make sense to them, and have, not always, but for a good portion of the time, success getting them to see life in a way that is powerful when you can come to terms with your emotion.
Walk with me here, because I'm trying to learn. So much of my Marine Corps career and adulthood is about zeroing out or blanking your emotions. You might be upset, but you can't let the person see it. You might be in severe physical pain, but you can't show it at all. And you certainly don't want to be vulnerable with a female, because it's going to be used against you, is the thought. So how do you balance being, a man, and then understand that your emotions are okay?
You know what? As a clinical therapist, I do not touch politics or religion.
No, okay.
Can't touch that.
Sure.
But spirituality is a different animal.
Right.
In the perspective of spirituality, I believe that if there's a male in my face and he wants to do harm to me, that I can de-escalate it, not because I'm weak, but because I'm stronger than he is. If I can bring him down, now, what was the purpose of doing that? In my world, I have found that what I am internally is what I draw to me externally. And I'm not going to sell this to anybody, because I live a life that is powerful by being compassionate with an insane country right now that is looking to be led down a path. And I'm saying it's okay. And people are like, F you and get away. And I'm like, but I'm not being affected as so many others, because not only have I a way of understanding what's happening, I got a cadre of youth that I started working when they were 12 in the 1980s that are 40 now and are my best friends. I have a circle of life that I have put together based off of not what I'm going to sell you, but what I've come to believe. And I think it's more powerful by the way I walk my walk than what I say when I talk. Make sense?
Well, yeah. Well, because that's the thing. There's a lot of, slick people out there that will tell you all this stuff, but when you peel back the layers, they're not really walking their talk.
Yep.
So what's real and what's not?
And I let you decide that. That's the part where I'm not going to change who I am, and I'm not going to appease you. This is what I am. I put it out. You've read it. You saw it. And it's apparently made you curious enough to have a conversation with me.
Well, I thought it was authentic. I'm like, I mean, it wasn't like well, I was this and have pity on me, or
now.
I'm holier than you, or I did this. So now, hey, buy my book, buy my book. It's like, hey, I'm Tom. I was a Navy SEAL. I did this stuff. Addiction wrecked my life. I turned my life around. I've gotten into, counseling. I'm a clinical, therapist now, which is very interesting. And I'm like, well, there's somebody who owns what they are.
Yeah.
And when who's authentic. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely curious. I definitely want to learn more. You start helping these kids out. What made you decide to really be a professional clinical therapist in that regard, and go through all that schooling and understand how the human mind and emotions work?
Yeah, it was by being authentic with youngsters. They shared with me the secrets that adults hide from me as a therapist, and that they would share these deep secrets with me. I'm not a clinician at this time. I'm nothing. I'm a knucklehead trying to figure out, who can never be a SEAL again, how to live life in the civilian world. And these youngsters are responding to me, and I'm at some point going, well, there must be something here, because why are they doing this to me? And then it got to the point where there was certain circumstances that I had no knowledge. I didn't, they're telling me things that are like, what? And I found that unacceptable, that they would trust you with that kind of information and you couldn't help them. No. That's when I did I need to get educated. And I didn't get educated for me. I got educated for them because of how they made me feel. And that was that I meant something to them. And now I am going to be, as a Navy SEAL, I'm the best. I'm expected to say that. And whether you're Marine, Army, Navy, whatever, we all need to be saying we're the best because we count on each other with our lives. And it's from that mentality that I'm saying I've got to be the best, because I don't want a question from a youth that I can't answer or know where I can find that answer.
I like the comment about kids will tell you secrets that adults won't.
Yeah.
So I want to just backtrack a little bit. What secrets do adults keep from you? And why, if you're going to therapy now, Marine Corps here, break it down Marine Corps style, Tom. If you're going to therapy, why would I keep a secret from you?
Nobody has ever come to me telling me the truth. They came because they were so hurting, but they came with a lie because they couldn't. Every human being keeps secrets. There's a secret that you hold that you won't tell your wife, you won't tell your kids, you're never going to, and that secret can be the thing that's killing you. And my role is to get to that place and get that secret and show you that it's not what you think it is. And so that, from that perspective, to be effective like I am is to be able to find what's really going on with the individual that comes to me. I ask the questions. I've been doing this a long time. I know how to, I'm a master manipulator. Bottom line is, you're coming to me because you can't come to terms with whatever, and whatever you came to me is not the problem. Because if that was a problem, you can figure it out. Why are you even coming to me if that's what it is? Here, just do this. It's not that simple. We are complex, and we are, by our nature, being human beings, we're fear-based.
Yeah.
We have the ability to be noble, but at the root, we live in fear. And those secrets that are in that domain, those are the ones that, if you're coming to me, I'm going after. That's what I do.
So what's it like when you get somebody who, if I understand you correctly, by default are lying to you right from the get-go?
Yeah.
So I have to think you have to get their trust first.
Oh, yes.
They have to feel safe, and you've got to manipulate them to, see you as a safe thing to be. Fine, and I get that. That's fine. But what's it like when they start laying the perimeter down, and you get to see what they're keeping from themselves and everybody else?
That's when I unleash my fury, because I wrap you around a wall that is going to protect you, because I'm all right with my maleness, that I will make sure in that room at that time, nothing is going to hurt you. Nothing's coming that can do any harm to you. And when you finally give it to me, I know how to make it so that you can live with it when you walk out that door from me. And if you need me the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you come back, you call. Because when you get to that place and I get to that, I have to be very careful. Those are the times where you're most vulnerable and I can lose you. But I also know that, no, I'm a corpsman, man. I ain't leaving nobody behind, and I ain't losing nobody. And this is coming from years of doing this. I couldn't have this conversation with you 30 years ago.
Yeah.
This is 40 years of being what I am today.
It just sounds earth-shattering, different, odd, because, I've been to a therapist. I've had to, take my, I've been around therapists, and generally it's, hey, I have you from 4 o'clock to 4:50. Okay, 4:49. We're not talking about anything else. We're getting the next schedule done, and you're out. If you call me, I might pick up today. I might pick up tomorrow. But if you need me, that's billable time, and then I'll see you next week or in 2 weeks. This is different. Your approach seems very different from what I've experienced myself.
Yeah, and that's because of our upbringing, our military thing. It
Okay.
doesn't matter whether you're a Navy SEAL or a Marine recon, or just a Navy sailor or a Marine. We are conditioned to care for. I don't have to like you. Let's get this straight. I don't like you, but I have to work with you. And if I'm working with you, that comes with everything that I am. I'm not giving because I don't like you half my essence. Again, it goes back to, I am not being what you want me to be by the way you're treating me. I've done this. I've come to understand the human dynamic, and we, by our very nature, are not looking to do harm. Our fear puts us into circumstances, and yes, let me make this perfectly clear. There is about 3% of the human population that is born a sociopath. I am not talking about that. That is a demon animal. That is a completely different thing. That is not what I'm talking about. I can't fix that. I've worked in the prisons, and I've worked in jails, and I've met them. I see them. I know them, and I don't want nothing to do with them. So that leaves me 97% of the population.
So for this 97%, and you have like 40 years of doing this body of work.
Yes.
30, 40 years. So you do this body of work for this time, and we're talking about you as the whole, Tom, but you wrote this book called Special Welfare, Social Warfare. I'm looking at it to make sure I don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
And the premise of that book was very interesting because you talk about these dynamics in this book. What led you to write the book, and how was it received when you wrote it?
it's not received the way I wanted it. I wrote it because I needed a vehicle to get in front of the national population of America.
Okay.
I'm writing this because our kids are hurting badly. And I told their story, but I also told my story. I told my parents' story, and I told my grandparents' story. And I'm sharing with you what's missing with our youth today, and what's going on has, we look at it, and it's not by accident that we're sitting here. And I want the ability to sit on Good Morning America and say, hello, my name's Tom. I'm coming here to share with you a story. It's in that book, but let's be understanding what I'm here for. I'm here to advocate for America's youth. That's what I'm doing here. And it's a pleasure to meet you. And that's the starting point for me. That's why I wrote the book. I wanted that opportunity, and I haven't gotten it yet.
So we're here now. What is wrong in your view? Again, you have a large body of work to draw from. What's wrong with our youth now?
Let's dismiss the key element as this thing.
Okay.
Because that's going back 20 years. I've been working, that goes back till the late 80s, early 90s, and the upbringing of youth is altering through the years. I grew up with children should be seen and not heard.
Yes.
And today that's not how children are brought up. And we had a rite of passage. That military that took us from our family, especially, i.e., your mother. Especially men need to detach from their mother to become the male that then can be there for a woman that becomes his wife. So that dynamic has been buried in coddling, not expecting, not holding accountable. And because of it, today's youth really are in over their heads. They don't know how to be adult males. And what is it about the adult population that's their parents, grandparents, goes back to, where's the money? Follow the money. We're not going to have that conversation here, but it's in the book. I said, this is where it is. We know this is an absolute fact. Why don't we do something about that? Because this is where our money is screwing up, that we don't no longer have resources to send us to recovery facilities, to mental health facilities, to medical facilities. The money got usurped. So those are the two dynamics that are in the book that I'm addressing.
It's hard being a parent in this day and age. It really is, but it definitely stands to support what you're saying. The kids are raised differently. I told my sons how things were done back in the day and what I had to do, and they couldn't believe me. I'm like, it's a different world now.
Yeah.
So let me flip this coin a little bit.
Sure.
Do we have to get the kids, or can parents do things right now to make their kids' childhood experience more robust, more resilient, or better?
Here's the thing is, change is the hardest thing a human being will ever do.
Yep.
We abhor change. We would rather hold on to the horror because it's a horror we understand, rather than go to change to something that might be worse. You're already living in a tragedy, and you're worried about something else being worse. Well, okay. So in that way, to bring about change for parents, that's got to be a question you ask yourself. From where I stand, I gravitated to that rite of passage. Honor Bound Academy is the nonprofit that I had that is written into the book because for the last 10 years, I attempted to be funded and could not get the money. There were nearly got, but nobody wanted to give me what I was asking for, was $6 million in 2 years. Because then I could give you a program with all of the, problems, all the kinks worked out.
Yeah.
And with that, if you want to go to my website, thehonorboundacademy.org, everything's in there. All the various platforms, all of my books, all my blogs. There you'll get understanding. Here with me, it's just like, in that moment, I want to say to America's youth, I'm here for you. From them, I'm going to listen, as I always have, to what they want. But to the adult population, I'm going to say, this is what we've got to do. And if you don't, that's okay. You can go elsewhere. And for those of you who want, this is time tested, and we can do it this way.
What do, I mean, you may have already said this, but what do America's children want? It seemed like a simple question, but I've never really considered it that way before, because I was a parent and I'm like, you're going to do what I want you to do, what I tell you to do. I didn't really consider what my children wanted. I'm just going to be honest with you. So in your view and what you've done, what do the kids want?
It's the dream. They want the dream. They want to dream the big dreams. But we need to be able to preface that to, I would shift it and say, what are they afraid of? The key element right now is global warming. The adult population refuses to look at it. Our kids, and you know this, they don't hear what we say. They watch what we do.
Yes,
Our
they
kids learn from what we do, not what my father, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, right. That didn't work. So this here now is, what are the youth? The larger portion of them are very fearful of what they're seeing of a planet that we're going to give them. And so that is more what I'm focused on saying. If I'm right and you're going to tell me I am right, then let's start brainstorming how to figure, because remember, I'm a clinician, but I'm a social worker. That I got the MSW. That means I advocate. I advocate at the highest level. I've been doing this for many years, and I'm at retirement age. I'm not ready to give up, but I'm done working. I want now to be there for our youth. And when it's time to get paid, I'm like, you guys already paid me. You gave me my life back 40 years ago. Now it's my turn. Yeah. So get rid of the financial. Let's figure out how, and all my skills, all my tools, all my talents are at your disposal. And you tell me how you want me to respond to the adult population. Because if I do it my way, I lose them. If I do it their way, I got them.
Yeah. So you have this book out. What was an initial reaction from people who read it as they, understood you and your story and what you just told me with what you're trying to do?
It's the second book, so they laughed again from this one, because it's again, I am being forward with who and what I am. I've got nothing to hide. It's in recovery. You're only as sick as your secrets. It took me a lot of time to come to terms. As a matter of fact, I had 32 years of sobriety and I relapsed. That was 5 years ago. And that was because I had a hidden thing that I minimized, but I knew from all those years of doing this with others, and I was afraid to look at my own self, and then my world crashed. And so to put it back, there's only one way for my kind to put it back: get real, get honest, and share. And so I circled myself with the professionals and the friends, and I came to terms and I let it go. And today, the last 5 years have been the best 5 years of my life.
I haven't gone through what you've gone through, but one thing that I learned about myself is if I'm not careful, I can get very comfortable in my pain. Mm-hmm. I know what it is, physically, emotionally, whatever, and it's like letting that go is almost as hurtful as holding on to it, because I know what it is. I can quantify it. I know when I'm feeling bad, physically, whatever, but it took a lot of effort to let certain parts of that go. So there's this aspect where people can get so comfortable being in misery, being in distress, being, having these feelings of self-worth that they're worthless, that it's almost impossible for them to get out of it? Is it fear of the unknown or just comfort? I've thought about this a lot, Tom, because I'm like, if I can figure this out, then maybe someone else doesn't have to go through
There you go.
the hard stuff.
Again, we walk our walk.
Okay.
And we don't talk our talk. I use my talk in the clinical setting. Otherwise, I'm very quiet and reserved, and I've got my opinion, but I keep it to myself. So the piece with it, when you're talking about pain, there's emotional pain and there's physical pain. Those are two different things.
Yep.
So the physical pain we're better at dealing with because we can look at it. My knee is killing me. My back is killing me. I can see it. The emotional pain requires a different type of operation. And it tends to be, we come to terms with our physical pain way quicker, way easier than we do with our emotional pain. And the emotional pain, unfortunately, leads to too many committing suicide because they're not going to ask for help, because they see the stigma of what we're talking about. Emotional pain means that you've got to share it with another human being. And the last thing I'm ever going to do is give that up. It was too horrible. It was too traumatic. I'm not. And you either die miserable in old age or you take your life. And that's why you giving me the opportunity to say these words and share them, I can't thank you enough, because I need that heard too. Today, 19 veterans are going to commit suicide, just like yesterday 19 committed it, and tomorrow 19 more. And if I can say anything to them, is the VA's there. They've screwed up more than enough times. But right now, the VA is understanding, and they are there for the veteran. Now, to the civilian population, I've been a civilian now for 37, 38 years, and I understand what it is to live this kind of trippy. I mean, I know how to live in the military. That made sense to me. This doesn't, but I've grown accustomed to, okay, this insanity is our insanity. Let's live with it. And again, when you interact, everybody that I talk to, I'm respectful to. I treat them like equals. It doesn't matter how you treat me, because I am not going to allow you to make me do something because of the way you treat me. I have too much respect for myself to say, I'm weak and, I have to throw a punch at you. That was fine in my 20s, but not anymore.
You have this book, you're trying to get it out to a wider audience.
Yeah.
You're trying to help America's youth. As we kind of wind this down, I mean, is there, in all your teachings, all your work and the lives you've touched, it's not hopeless, right? There is hope out there, correct? If we just...
Oh, yeah. I'm big on that.
Okay, tell me about that.
Yeah, because the hope is that I'm sitting here. I told you my story. And 5 years ago, I was the first time in my entire life that I ever thought of taking my own life. That was an eye-opener. That was truly, oh my God. And so with that said, this right now is my last hurrah, and I'm doing it because I absolutely know that there are answers out there, that there are going to be magnificent opportunities and situations as equal to just the horrendous ones that are going to be side by side. But I absolutely believe in our kids, and for the most part, the adult population, I've learned to grow, I'm used to you guys now, I'm used to them. So I'm not going to be like condescending and rude, but I now have a message that our youth are in trouble, and we can help them by us helping each other. So that's the alpha and the omega of the message, that I wrote a book and sitting here and grateful for the opportunity you give me.
Well, it's certainly been an insightful one, and it just shows that I think what I'm learning is there's stuff going on with our kids and people that we're never really going to see. And what I guess what I'm trying to say is, what I see from my children and other people is not the truth. And so there's a reason they're acting that way, and they may not even know why they're doing it. And so it certainly changed my perspective on how I look at people. But the other part that I really like is you seem to have this theme of, hey, somebody can do something to me, you, but I'm not going to let it affect me because I know who I am. I'm comfortable with who I am. So if I have that, you can't impose your will upon me. And I think a lot of people don't know that or miss that. That's what I'm learning in our talk.
Yeah, and there's a bonus above that.
Okay.
The universe wants what is best for us, and it can't give it to us when we're not the best we're meant to be. So in the process of becoming the best you can possibly be, you're not doing it for the attaboys from the kids, the wife, the society. You're doing it because you're coming to terms with understanding the greater universe, in that if you are humble and a peacemaker, the universe can work through you. And in through me is why I can answer to you, there is hope.
Tom, I've learned a whole lot in the last hour that we've been talking, and I can't wait to dive more into your book and your story and what you're doing. I certainly do hope that you, maybe this was a push, I don't know, but that you get heard on a wider audience, because I think there's no doubt about it. People are hurting and kids are definitely hurting. So I think there's hope, and I appreciate you coming on and talking with me so openly and freely.
Yeah, and I appreciate yours because I'm very comfortable. I felt appreciated and I felt understood. And that mutual bond that we spoke of prior, I am forever grateful. And I got a new friend, so thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best part about doing Oscar Mike Radio. You get to meet these people who've had to rebuild their lives, transition to different aspects of their perspective and how they do things. And, you know, Tom LaGrave is no exception. I'll have the link to his book from Amazon, the Oscar Mike Radio show post, all the links to his, nonprofit and his website. Please check him out. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we're mission in flight. Thank you so much.
The biggest fear Gold-Star families have, that their child will be forgotten.
We need to never forget freedom wasn't free.
It's the fact that they give us the life we have now. We should remember them and give thanks to them.
If I can be a part of something today that's going to make the surviving family of any of these veterans, these heroes, feel better tomorrow, then it's worth it.
That one wreath symbolizes one family that was able to smile because of the generous donations.
To sponsor a wreath and honor a veteran, visit wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.